All right, guys, we're going to get started. And my name is Michael Winiger, CEO of Aanti Organics. And, today is a real special day because we got Miss Shannon Knight with us. And, Shannon's really done a lot helping other people going through some really um, life-changing things in their lives. Shannon's, she's a compassionate life coach, writer, an advocate who has, dedicated her life to supporting women through some of life's most challenging moments, and with a deep personal understanding of trauma, having overcome stage 4 breast cancer herself, sexual assault, stalking, domestic violence. Shannon's journey is one of the most profound resilience and hope, right? And after being given only months to live by UCLA in 2010, Shannon sought alternative cancer treatment at CMN Hospital, which saved her life. And that's exactly where I went. And today, she combines her experiences with her journey of the heart coaching expertise to inspire others to embrace self-compassion, faith, a holistic approach to healing. And Shannon's unique insights, drawn from her own path to recovery, have empowered countless women to transform their lives and discover their true purpose. And, so you don't want to miss, get people on here and they want to hear Shannon's story and gain value and valuable insights, right, into navigating nutrition and lifestyle and wellness in this, what we call the post-pandemic and post-cancer world. So with that, I want to start by saying thank you for being here, Shannon. And yeah, I'm excited.
Having me. Thank you for having me. It feels really good to be able to talk about this topic, especially since I just saw something flash across the news about groceries and shelves being empty, similar to the time when COVID hit. And I've been researching for the last couple of weeks, particularly on the cost of organic food and how much it's gone up since 2020. And the number is astronomical. Since 2020, the number for percentage for food, organic and non-GMO, has gone up 46%. Mind you, across the nation, because of inflation, salaries are not going up. So that's a hardship on all of us who want healthy food, who want organic foods. And the supplement industry has gone up since 2020, and it's still rising, by the way. It's not going to slow down. It's gone up 133%. And the reason I researched supplements is, like Mike told you, I am a coach for cancer survivors. Most of the people that reach out to me are women. The women are usually stage 3 or stage 4. People don't seek me out for alternative cancer treatment unless they heard about my story back in 2010, being told I had months to live and get my affairs in order. That's the most frightening thing you could ever hear. You've tried supplements, you've tried everything and anything, and nothing's worked, and you're at a standstill. And everything you see at that moment moving forward, every autumn tree with its leaves falling, because this was September, I knew that I was never going to see autumn again. It's very real when someone tells you it's over, you're done. So I spent 5 months with my girlfriends. Thank God, I call them my angels, Angels for Shannon, on ShannonKnight.com. You just click on it and you'll see who they are. They're amazing women. The Fortress of Us raised money to get me to CMN Hospital in San Luis, Mexico. It's a humble hospital. It's been there since 1987. It's full service. They deliver babies. They don't just treat cancer. They treat Lyme's disease, Parkinson's, MS, HIV. Dr. Payan, who saved my life in 2011, I went February when we reached our goal in 2011, February 7th. I did all of the treatments, and by August, I didn't have any symptoms. I had cancer in my bones, in my all lobes of my lungs, in my lymph nodes, behind my trachea. And everybody that talked to me after they knew that it was done, my family, my friends, all over Facebook who were raising money for me, they felt that their need was to try to get me in out of denial and to accept this prognosis, which, like Mike and a lot of people I know, I'm a fighter. I don't quit. It's not over until it's over. So fortunately, I went there, everything worked. And by 2011, August, I was symptom free. And by October 15th, 2011, I was completely free of cancer. PET scan came clear. Now, my family were skeptical and they watched because there's this thing that they always say, you're not cancer free until it's 5 years. So for the first 5 years, everyone was still kind of, well, wait, well, let's see, because I was originally diagnosed in 2006. So this is when I learned about enzymes. This is when I started to implement a little bit of that holistic life. I used to eat very healthy. My dad was a runner. I danced. My mom taught dance. We were in a dance group. So I had a healthy lifestyle, but it was for a low middle income. So we didn't have organic foods. In fact, I don't think I heard the word organic until I got cancer. I never really paid attention. Now I'm out 5 years. By the way, I never did what they told me to do. I never did chemotherapy in my entire journey through cancer from 2006, stage 3, then getting a recurrence in 2010, and then being told lights out in a few months. When I was better, I started researching because women were contacting me at Angels for Shannon or ShannonKnight.com. They wanted to do what I was doing, and they thought that I was on some miraculous diet. And because about that time, a lot of cancer clinics were coming out, the Gerson therapy, juicing, doing the macro diet, all even keto came out a little bit later, but diet was everything. I didn't do that. I did the treatments that were systemic, stem cells, dendritic cells, hyperthermia, oxygen therapies. I did very advanced treatments that were discovered right here in the United States at Baylor University, at Stanford, even UCLA. These treatments are not unknown. In fact, the blue scorpion venom that I did is now being used at a cancer treatment center in California. It breaks through the blood-brain barrier. It's phenomenal because it helps get other treatments. Whether it's conventional or holistic, it helps get the treatment through the blood-brain barrier, and it helps diminish the cancer in the brain, which is a huge success. So the treatments are very extensive, very comprehensive, and easy to understand when you visit CMN Hospital's website. The group that follows me are women, mostly breast cancer, because that's what I had. And they all wanted to know what my diet was. I was in the documentary series by Ty Bollinger, The Truth About Cancer. And after that series hit the web and everybody watched it, they started contacting me and wanted to know what diet I was on. That's what put me on the path to find the best reds and greens. I researched Trader Joe's, everything, and I found the Winnegar Brothers. And I spoke to Danny and Mike and loved the products. I loved everything about it. I was fascinated just with scooping out the greens and the reds and seeing the static, what do you call it, Mike? It's auric value.
It's a
Ionic.
negative 750 megahertz charge.
Yeah. So those are, there's the reds. And
Right.
then the greens do the same thing. So that fascinated me. You know why? Because in everything I ever read, it said it was so important that we have live fruits and vegetables, even our water. So I have a machine that ionizes my water and alkalines it. So I understood what that meant, having food that was dead in its nature, sitting in a I learned not to shop in the middle aisles, to shop organically. But I wanted something for the women who were calling me from the hospital bed, being fed on a liquid diet, Ensure and Boost. They were disgusted with what they were being given. Family members were calling me, and I wanted to meet those needs. So my goal was to get on board with Aanti Organics as soon as possible, get the discount, and start letting these women learn that there was something so much healthier that they could take as a substitute, including the pH balanced protein drink. My father went through that whole thing with cancer. They put him on Ensure, they put him on Boost. And I desperately wanted to get him on to the greens, the reds, and the protein. But my family was very much conventional. My mom worked for the doctor. Her best friend was friends with my oncologist at UCLA. And there was just walls everywhere and resistance. So I think it's so important, first of all, to trust your instincts, keep pushing. That's what I did. And I don't know if you were in on any of those calls, Mike, but we ended up doing Diagnosed TV, and they showed up in Nashville. Danny did, and for their spot on the banner. And I to this day, in fact, more today than ever, this is when we need to be able to share these products. And the reason I'm speaking about it, I wasn't going to at first. Mike even said, yeah, we don't need to talk about the product, but I can't help it because of what I saw in the news today. And because of the cost of food, and our incomes are stagnant. People aren't getting raises in the middle class, middle, lower, upper. It doesn't matter. Even if we have our own business, we're hesitant to give our employees raises because we're so scared. There's so much panic for what's going on with the economy. And right there, I'm going to leave it with you, Mike, and you can interject anything you want and I'll answer any questions. But pretty much that's the beginning of how I got involved and how I became passionate, but even more so today than ever before.
Absolutely. I had a chance to go down about a month ago to visit myself down in CMN Hospital, and I can't emphasize more on how they treat you like a person in their family instead of just somebody that's walking in through the door. I mean, they spend a lot of time with you, and they really spend a lot of time educating you as well. I think that's really, really important. That's what we lack because, in our world, you know what? Here's the way it works in Western medicine. They'll give you a diagnosis and then they'll give you a prognosis. And you know what? They don't do that down there because I'll tell you what, God knows your expiration date, not some person trying to tell you this long, that long, nobody wants to hear that. And it's unnecessary because you know what? Look at Shannon, look at Linda, who's on the call here. And look at all these people.
My
And when
twin sister,
right.
my twin sister, she got it 5 years later and went to the same hospital.
And you know what surprised me when I got down into CMN myself, I did not know what to expect, right? Because I've never been there. And, we started out, getting there at 11 o'clock and having lunch. And I was like, what? Wait, what? I mean, like everything that we produce from a company standpoint is being used right when a person gets into that into CMN during the whole treatment. It's really, really important. And then afterwards you get a sheet of paper on what to do and what you should be doing for the rest of your life. And to see that, it was very humbling to see that our entire product line was pretty much on that sheet. And, and something was said to me down there that stuck with me forever. And that is, look, you know what? Throughout every single solitary day, okay, you have to realize that, we have to take as good as nutrition inside of ourselves as possible, allow our bodies to operate the way they did when we were younger, because we don't digest the way we do anymore, like when we were in our teens. And you're going to get in a lot of trouble if you don't if you don't start manually doing the things that your body used to do. So, like when you look at anybody with any health situation, it wasn't like they just woke up and went, whoa, what's that? Or somebody with weight problems, like, how did that get there? It took a long time for that to even develop. So you look at where you're at, wherever that is in your life, and with whatever it is that you might be, having to have a imbalance with, let's just call it an imbalance, because I don't like using certain words, right? And so you got this imbalance, but before that happened, well, then there was something else there. And before that happened, then this, and then that, and over there. And then there was inflammation. And before the inflammation could even happen, you had a compromised immune system. And you know what? The only way you're going to ever compromise your immune system is in the gut. So all disease, no matter what it is, will start inside the gut. So at the age 35 to 42 years old, you need to realize that you don't digest like you did when you were younger. So if you're alive and you're breathing, you only have 50% of your digestive capabilities at 35 to 40. Every 10 years after that, you're going to lose another 10%. So if you don't start manually doing what your body used to do, because that's what it's supposed to do, you will get something. And that something could be something that would, potentially wipe you out, and, and before I left there, I heard this, and it was really, really impactful. And I say it all the time, is that at the end of the day, so tonight, when we get ready to go to bed, you think about, what did we do today, right? And it doesn't matter, no matter either how small or how large it is, what you put inside your body and what you're putting on top of your body, because your skin is the largest organ that you have, and it's breathing, and it needs certain things as well. And anything that you put on top of you is going to get into your bloodstream in 26 seconds and get into your major organs in 5 to 8 minutes. So at the end of the day, you are either, based on what you're putting inside and on top of yourself, participating in your life or participating in your death. And it's just that simple. And you get to make that choice. So taking care of your health is your responsibility, right? And it's a humbling experience. And being there myself, I had the same thing happen to myself, not on the extent of Shannon, because Shannon deals with tens and tens and tens of thousands of people daily on her blog, and from everything, right? And she helps them through it as much as she very, very well. And but being in that beautiful place, CMN, and hanging out with every doctor and every person that's on the staff. And then I'm sitting there and I heard, my gosh, I'm in Mexico. What was that noise? And then I heard some fluttering again, and there were notes underneath my door. And these were people, just like in Shannon's experience, asking if they could come in. And I had to get the hospital director to bring chairs in so we could educate people and show them how to do things differently in your life so you can avoid these situations, because you can. I mean, God created your body, and you know what? If your body's able to get out of balance, your body's able to get right back into balance. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing our Lord did for us. And we have to realize that. And it's not with, poking and prodding and this and that and poisoning and doing, burning and prescribing. You know, I said this today, and I hope it's a good place that I can say this. You know what? You watch people go down into that establishment, into that place, and you see them like Shannon coming back and having a story and her life back. Me too. But you go show me any doctor in the United States that's curing anybody. If they did, they'd have an empty waiting room, or they would have tons of people lined up outside to get in there. But that's just not our system. But it is their system. And that's and that is wow, that's heavenly to me, you know. And you can discuss a little bit more if you want to add anything that you want. We can open up for questions and things like that. But I think, you know, Shannon's doing a beautiful thing for people in her life, and I support her 1000%. And I think that between, you know, me and Shannon are like megaphones. But you know what's louder than megaphones? Thousands and thousands of microphones. So when you have this type of information in your hands and we guide you right along every step of the way, you should feel humbled and honored to share that with people, because that's the message people really need to hear, I think.
You know what is going to be amazing for anybody here who, I don't know who is a guest here for the first time, but for anybody who does the business, I have always been the kind of woman that I worked for Victoria's Secret for 23 years. It wasn't a job to me. I loved doing it because I already liked everything about Victoria's Secret at the time back then, before I ever got cancer. Essanté Organics, if you look at the grocery bill, all you have to do is talk about the cost of food and look at how many servings are in the greens and the reds, just the greens, the reds, and the protein drink. We want our kids to be healthy. I've got 7 grandkids. I want them all to be healthy. And they're farming and learning how to do all of that at home, and they're being homeschooled. But there is a great amount of people who will understand with hardly a conversation about their grocery bill, because it's so extreme how expensive it is. And to know that you can even give these products to your kids, just a little in water each morning, and send them off to school. This is an opportunity that speaks for itself by our bank account, because you can't get that nutrition, that quality in your groceries. You look at the cost of the reds and the greens, and the only reason I'm speaking about that right now is because the women I'm speaking to don't have jobs. They still have to eat. They're single moms, and they don't have a solution. That's why I'm focusing on that, because my group that reach out to me are those women scared out of their minds because they're taking 30 to 40 supplements. They don't notice a change. It's not getting rid of their cancer. They don't want to do chemo. They don't want to do radiation. And they want to do something that makes sense. It is easy to describe how Aanti Organics works for the people to have just the basic nutrition and feel like I don't have to. I was on morphine. I was on Zofran for nausea, and I couldn't swallow pills without throwing up. Had I known in 2010, I would have taken Aanti Organics. I didn't have the nutrition. I was getting 7-Eleven Slurpees just to get rid of the nausea, mashed potatoes, oatmeal, and Slurpees. That was my diet. Everything had to be bland because I was so sick from the radiation that made me sick, or I got staph infection and pneumonia. So it is so important to understand and know, yes, that's my audience, but right now we're in a nation, a world where everyone is terrified. There's always a new pox coming up, or COVID, monkeypox, COVID. They're always terrifying people. So I really think that we need to bring faith back to people, hope that there is a way to have all of that nutrition without spending what was once $100 and is now $160 in a period of 4 years for a bag of organic groceries. It's not sustainable, especially if you want your children, which we always want our children first. I was the single mom that it was macaroni and cheese and hot dogs. We'd count pennies and put them in a jar. Everything, I was working 2 jobs, but then I had to pay childcare. Everything mattered, but I couldn't afford to feed them. But if I had known about nutrition like Asante Organics back then in the 90s and in the early 2000, I would have been grateful to have that and give that to my family.
Thank you. One thing that I think we need to educate the general public on is, Shannon's husband knows, oh my goodness, I was from Wisconsin and our farm was up in a little town that was unincorporated. That means there was no population. And then he knows the people up there, my Sunday school teacher, oh my goodness, he knows these families, right? And back then in those days in the 70s, when I was like 10 and 12 years old, the guy would ride up to my grandma's house because we'd be there and he goes, Mike, you want to work with me today for 4 or 5 hours? And what he did is he had a big truck, like a big old pickup truck, and he would take the garbage bags because he would, instead of putting your cans out there like you do now with wheels, it was just you let your bags out there, and I would get $20, which I thought was, boy, I was a really good entrepreneur, and I was throwing all these garbage cans or garbage bags in there, and we'd have to take it to the dump, and everything went to the dump. And because everybody knew everybody, and I was, always asking questions and talking about health with it, even back then, the guy says to me, who owns the dump? Mike, see that over there? And he pointed, and there were these big mounds, and it looked like all these different colors, right? And they were probably about 15 feet in diameter and 8 feet tall, and it was 8 of them. And so he goes, go look at that. And I went over there, and all I saw was 1 a day, Centrum, all these different vitamins that people take that they think they're getting something out of, and it's ending up in the septic tanks, right? And, so we had to develop a new way of approaching health and wellness, and that's going back, and sometimes in order to progress in life, we have to regress and go back to absolute whole food nutrition, make it as, like we do, as fine as possible, put the charges on there so people actually get results and get what, and they feel comfortable. And the nicest thing is they got one place to go to and get everything. That's the key. When we're talking about changing your life, when you get that kind of phone call, that means you got to change your nutrition. You're going to have to change your skincare. You're going to have to change your household items. You're going to have to, without implying, that you got to use all this type of things if you want to live, and you have to completely have a complete different lifestyle approach and change. Shannon teaches it all the time, and that's what we try to do, and that's what we go out and do. We educate. We're an education company. No, we're not about. Go
I
ahead.
want to interject because it matches what you're saying. Women, when I talk to them, about same thing, about 98%. I'll ask them, knowing the answer, unless they're lying, but they're not, because I was one of those women. There's supplement bottles everywhere. They'll start one supplement with all these capsules. They're tired. They're overwhelmed. They're not getting better. They don't know if it's working. I know that when I take Asante Organics, I can feel a difference. I feel a nutritional zap going on in my body. But these women, they don't want to do, I didn't want to do it. I'd have them on a tray. They'd bring them to my bed and count them all out. And it was anywhere and up over 30 supplements. And I didn't even know if they were working. Somebody told me to do this. Somebody told me to do that. And this started in 2006. And since then, when women ask me, what's your diet? What supplements do you take? It's on my website. It's Asante Organics and maybe a couple of other things, probiotics, I don't know. But it's a very short list. They're blown away because they're so terrified to stop what they've been doing for about 1.5 years that hasn't worked. And they don't know the science. They need to know the science. And if we can share the science, they'll understand how, because I started thinking about what you said, Mike, all of the capsules. I think of everything that gets wasted in the septic tanks. Your body isn't going to use 30 pills if you've got a multivitamin, and then you've got vitamin D, quercetin, vitamin C, vitamin D3, K, to all these different vitamins, and they don't know what their body actually needs supplement-wise. They don't even know. They're just so scared that they'll do anything to beat the cancer or the health disorder that they're dealing with, an autoimmune disease. And they want to know how long they have to be on it. And nobody's going to tell them to stop because a doctor didn't prescribe it. There are centers that will give you IV vitamin C and their line of products, but they still can't guarantee everything. So I believe that getting it down fine to the organic as much as possible and being able to have it at a good price point, so you can do the math of what you're spending every month compared to I'm guilty of buying organic produce and forgetting that I had raspberries and they're already moldy on the bottom. That was expensive. Okay, I have done that so many times. Totally guilty. Anyway, I've seen how much gets wasted, and it isn't just me.
You know, we have to think back as well as like, we go back, as far as biblical days, when these issues didn't even exist in people. Why is that? Because they used whole food nutrition. There was no capsules and pills and vitamins and stuff like that back then. They used food. That's what we do. We use food. So you know what, guys? What we're going to do is we're going to open this up. And if you have any questions for Shannon, unmute yourself or else type it into the chat. And then what we can do is we can, I can allow Shannon to voice some answers and help you out with some things. So what you can do is unmute yourself and say who you are, and let's ask Shannon some questions.
Oh, that's nice. Joan, thank you. You're welcome. It's alive, those red and greens, Denise wrote. Thank you, Denise. Nice to meet you, Joe.
So guys, do you have any questions for Shannon or anything that you
I'll
might
take any
want to ask?
questions. I'm used to questions. I'm used to hard, tough questions. When you get diagnosed with stage 4 cancer and you're told you're going to die, something amazing happens to you. You get confidence. You care more about people. You care more about truth. And you feel your soul telling you what to do. It's a life-changing experience. I would say that's the greatest takeaway from me being sick with stage 4 cancer and being I'm headed out of my 13th year of being cancer-free to my 14th year. And I've got 20 plus family members that have dealt with it. And my twin sister and I are the only two that did alternative cancer treatment. And my other family members did both. I mean, meaning they had success with conventional or they didn't, but they all did conventional. So I wanted to share that I'm very humble and understanding when it comes to dealing with cancer, because my family was riddled with it and it's over the 20s. And I've got 2 family members that are coping with it right now. So no one can hurt my feelings like what just happened with that woman. Just wanted to let you know that. Say whatever, ask whatever.
Shannon, you mentioned that you had used the stem cell. Did you do that before
I did it at stage 4 at CMN because it was discovered at Stanford University in July of 2011. And you can just look up breast cancer, stem cell, autologous. So they take your own stem cells. You don't need a donor. So the candidates that would be doing that, if they would allow us to in the United States, would be someone who doesn't have cancer in their bone marrow. They're the candidates for it. Does that help a little bit? I did it in 2010.
Right. And Joel asks, with everything you went through, what's the best experience with diet besides the greens and reds?
Intermittent fasting and more water, good water. And swimming, because they took my lymph nodes out. So swimming 3 to 4 times a week is a natural lymphatic massage, and it's good for your body. That's why I do that. And emotional healing. So in the beginning, when Mike introduced me, he talked about me being a victim of crimes. It was all intertwined together, the sexual assault, the stalking when he got out of prison. When you are a single mom, there's something we do. It's very rare for me to meet a mom that doesn't do this. We protect our children from our pain. So if we want to cry, we suppress it. Well, if you look up broken heart syndrome, that's a real thing. It's in the American Heart Association journal. Past unresolved traumas, traumatic events that happen to you, even if it's a child custody battle, divorce, and I'm not minimizing that because I went through that too. You can't go through a divorce without having that layered on top of everything. So when you've got emotional pain that's unresolved, I think the best thing that I did for myself was taking care of that, because my diet was not a mess. I didn't eat candy bars and ice cream every day. And I'm not a drinker. I'm not a smoker. So I think that what gets missed is not what we're eating sometimes. Some of these people are very healthy and they don't understand what's wrong. It's what's eating at them emotionally, separating themselves from their faith because they feel abandoned, the lies that we tell ourselves. So does that help a little?
I hope so, yes. What are some of the other things you help with other than cancer? Somebody asked. Things like that.
Coaching. So I have coaching books that go through the spiritual, and I'm a faith-based coach for women. So my books are written for women to go through how to not be a people pleaser and feel comfortable in your own skin, learning how to navigate through that. And because when someone's sick with anything, let's say it's an autoimmune disease, I've got a loved one that's struggling very much with a very serious autoimmune disease, and it came on suddenly after a kidney infection. That is not the time. And I've learned this because I did everything that I'm teaching now. I had to learn. I didn't have anyone to teach me, but I knew when I looked back at my life, I was in a marriage that was abusive back in 2010 while I had stage 4 cancer. And I've got a group called Double Trouble. So the group is for women who are going through domestic violence and cancer at the same time. And when you have a caregiver who's taking you to your doctor's appointments, providing you your food, financially supporting you, these women feel so alone and lost. And they need support in a way that is very anonymous and private. And I think that's my number one thing that I feel called to do because I went through it. And there isn't a doctor that's going to treat you for cancer that's going to ask you, do you feel safe at home, and then help you through it, even if you tell them you're not safe.
Right. All right, guys. Well, you know what? I'm going to close with this, right? My prayer for you is that, that you understand these things that we've spoken about and understand that we come from a completely different side of the street when we talk about companies, because what we do is we educate people and help people. That's more important than anything else. And if you want to make money in your business, that happens to be just a really good side effect of helping somebody, truly helping somebody. I've seen it myself. I was there myself. It changed me. And, I think, looking at everything that Shannon went through, she emphasizes on the importance of trusting yourself and making your own informed health decisions. And we can help you with those things as well, right? So, with that, is there any final words you'd like to end with, Shannon?
I've written this on my website. Our trusting yourself is, I think, because I'm Christian, soul intelligence. I feel that it's something that we don't pay attention to until we're stricken with a health disorder, a serious one where our life, we hear the word cancer and we are terrified. It's always associated with what stage, how far advanced. But if you can just find a point, and it doesn't come right away for everybody, and it didn't for me, that your soul is here for a purpose. The body's going to age, the body's going to go. No one wants to think about that, but it smacks you in the face when your health declines and you're facing something and they're telling you you've only got months to live. That's what the biggest takeaway for me was. I had to really recognize, like I heard my soul gain, are you going to get out of the way now and let me lead? Because the mind is always in the way. The mind is the judge, the critic, the meanie, even the self-criticism. I learned self-compassion. I learned how not to beat myself up and not say, there's so many things that I've learned that people say that are self-critical. And I wish I could teach everybody at once how liberating it is when you don't criticize yourself so harshly, and you understand what self-compassion is. And it's literally learning how to love yourself enough to get the things that you need and do what you need to do and take care of yourself, and then be able to pay it forward to others.
Exactly. And, I think my takeaway on all this stuff from my experience is, look, if there's hospitals that are around the world that I've actually researched now that are using the Aanti Organics product line to save lives, that's part of the protocol. You know what? It's not everything. I mean, it's the biggest tool in the belt. There's a lot of things. You got a tool belt, right? And you can't build a house with a hammer and nails. You're going to need some wood and screwdrivers and bolts and nuts and all these things. But the biggest tool in that belt is what you're putting inside yourself and on top of you, because it's extremely, extremely, extremely important. If you take anything away from this, I tell people this, I go, look, you think about we got an immune system and we have a lymphatic system. That's what we have. Okay. And your immune system are fighters. They're fighters. And there's millions and millions of fighters inside your body. Did you know that without your immune system, you would die in 24 hours? Did you know without your immune system or without skin, you would die in 24 hours? So your immune system is always, you think of those as fighters and soldiers, and your lymphatic system is the fort where they come to, right? So I tell people, I go, look, so you got these fighters, and they're getting rid of a lot of things every day, environmental things that are, that shouldn't be us, maybe uric acid. They're just fighting to keep us alive and healthy. And then you go today and you stretch and you yawn and you get in the shower. And now you use some really bad shampoo, because a lot of people do. And what happens is your fighters, your soldiers, they start rushing up to the head going, we can't let that in. We can't let that in. It could kill this person, right? It could kill anybody, really. And everything that you put on top of yourself is going to get into your bloodstream in 26 seconds, into your major organs within 5 to 8 minutes. And what happens is they're fighting and fighting and fighting. Okay, now we rinse that off. Next thing we do is now we put in the conditioner. Now more fighters are going up there and they're going nuts trying to keep this stuff out of your body. And then we're going to put on the shower gel. And then we just keep putting all these things on top of us. And you know what you do? And sometimes those, as they're fighting other things, they don't kill everything. So they have to drag it back to the fort, which is the lymphatic system. And right at the fort, the lymphatic system will kill it, so it doesn't get into your bloodstream and cause these issues. But if you're doing all this bad behavior that you're self-inducing yourself with, what happens is you got a confused environment. And now these soldiers are trying to combat everything that you're trying to induce into yourself. whether it's inside or, through your mouth or what you're putting on top of yourself. And you know what happens? They're so confused and trying to fight these things. They forgot about that spot on your lung. They forgot about that spot on your kidney. They forgot about that spot over there or over here. They forgot. And then we are going to have some not so nice issues. So it's really important to understand the fighters and the forts, and we're in control of those things. We are. So, with that being said, it's all about education. And I thank everybody for being here tonight and learning more about Shannon's story, learning more about, the Essanté Organics story. And you know what? If you want to learn more about Aanti Organics, if you're new here, get with somebody who showed you the products, so you can now take your life into control and allow your body to really thrive. And if you want to know more about Shannon's story, just go to ShannonKnight.com and she'll give you further guidance on everything that you want to talk about. She's really good at that and she does it well. So Shannon, I thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And we'll do this again. We'll do this again sometime.
Absolutely.
So, yes. And I think, Shannon and I are pretty much really tight now on this mission of trying to educate as many people as possible so they don't get that phone call. You don't have to get that phone call. 50% of that issue can be completely avoided by what you're putting inside yourself. 46% can be completely avoided by what you're putting on top of yourself. So if you're doing the right things inside and outside, you got a 96% chance you'll never get that phone call. But if you're doing anything other than that, those numbers switch, and that's not good numbers. So you know what? Our goal, our mission is to let everybody know what they can do to better themselves and have hope. Hope is really important, I think, and know that, when you see a person like Shannon, or even somebody who didn't have it as much as what she had, anything like that. But I know people that went down there that was unbelievable. And they're walking around with success stories and loved the healing. How's that say, right?
Right. Yes.
Right. So
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for being here.
If you have questions, you can find me, I think, on Facebook or go to my website. I don't know. Thank you.
With that being said, God bless you. God bless your families. And you know what, guys? Look deeper. And if you're new here, look deeper in what you got before your eyes, because it's life-changing and it's life-saving. So that's what we have. And I hope you all have a blessed evening. And thank you all for being here. And we'll have Shannon on a few more times, a lot more times. Let's put it that way, because we're on the same mission to get in front of as many people as we can. And you should be on that mission too, because you guys are part of it. And that's what we're supposed to do. So be blessed, everybody. And we will see you again another time in another broadcast.
Yes.
Thank you, Shannon, again. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.